Hello and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with me, Michael Jex, the tea drinking author, with a lovely cup of Twining's lemon and ginger tea and the ability apparently to mess up in so many ways various different YouTube videos. I think I'll put some outtakes at the back end of this one just for the hell of it. I have got quite a lot of outtakes today. Since I moved my microphone to this side, all of a sudden I can reach my cups without having to worry about knocking a microphone and getting an almighty bonging noise on the recording, or basically knocking my tea all over my keyboard. It's great. So I thought I'll do a slightly different one today because I'm very short of time. Next week I've got to go away for 3-4 days doing some research, and that's going to involve living away from home for 3 or 4 days. And I thought, what am I going to take with me? Well, before I get into that, let me just say thanks ever so much to all the Patreon supporters, because it's making a huge difference. If you want to help support this channel, then please hit the subscribe button, hit the like, because they move videos up the YouTube algorithms, and it means that apparently I get promoted more by YouTube, which is nice, and I'd like to get promoted more, especially right now because of the separate podcast and YouTube videos which I'm putting out, which are all about my experience of diabetes. I've now managed to kick it, and I think it's important that people are aware of what the experiences are of people who have had diabetes, so that they can see how they might be able to cure it themselves, and also just to make sure that they haven't got it themselves, because I had absolutely no symptoms whatsoever, and I'd had it for about 10 years apparently. So if you're interested in that, there is the second set of YouTube videos. I've put a link down to the podcast underneath. You can go and check it out there. If you want to help support the channel, then you can also, if you so desire, go along to Patreon. There's a link down the bottom. Or send me, you can go to Buy Me a Coffee and send me some money that way, or just go to Super Thanks. There's all sorts of different ways. If you want to help support the channel, I'd be very grateful. But even if you don't want to support the channel financially, then I'm very grateful you're here anyhow. So what am I talking about this week? It is going away and conducting some research. I thought some people might be interested in what I consider to be the essentials. And I don't mean a toothbrush, toothpaste and all that stuff. I mean things that I have to carry with me. Why am I going away to do some research? Well, a couple of weeks ago I was up near Derby in a town called Ashbourne, and staggering around the streets there with some family friends that I've known all my life, I bumped into a pleasant chap. He wanted to introduce me to a local author who was doing a signing, and we got chatting, and he was very interested to learn that I was an author too, and so was she, the local author. So I had a chat with her, and while I was chatting with her, I could see this gentleman was furiously tapping away on his phone, and clearly what he was doing was confirming who the hell I was. When he realised that I was a genuine author, he invited me to go and have a look at his gardens and things, because he was the owner of Tissington. Tissington is a little village that originally must have been taken over around the time of the Norman conquest, so the late 1000s. I say that because there was an old Motte and Bailey, an old-style Norman castle, which apparently was built up in stone and renovated and extended over time. But in the 1600s, at around the time of the English Civil War, that castle was taken down and a new place was built on the opposite side of a little road. And it's a beautiful sort of hall, manor house type thing. It's wonderful. But the same family which acquired this village, Tissington, in the 1400s, still owns it today. And now I've got a delivery arriving. I'm going to have to go. I'll be back shortly. This is, of course, one of the joys of working from home, is that every now and again you see a delivery man, and it's from a delivery company you're expecting, but it's not for you, it's for next door. It's just they have to park out in front of your house so they can get in it. Anyway, Tissington. So the same family owns this entire village, which is pretty astonishing, really. And he seems to be a very genuine, delightful bloke. And while chatting to him, he and I both started talking about the idea of my basing a book there in his village. And that's what I'm going to do. So I've got to go up there to do some research. I've got some basic ideas. Some of them may work, some of them won't work. So I've been formulating the concepts of the plot in my head, and I'm going to go up there and get a closer look at the lie of the land. So what do I need to take up with me? Well, the first thing I'm going to be taking is a bunch of paints and a sketchbook, because I always find it really helps to fix a place in your mind if you paint it, or sketch it at the very least. So I will be taking a nice little black, very fine line pen and oodles of paper with little sketchbooks. Now you're going to say, well, it'd be a lot easier just to take your camera. Here it is. Or your camera phone and get lots of snaps. And you'd be absolutely right. But as I say, if you want to fix a place in your mind, going click, or click with your thumb on a phone, yes, you'll end up with a load of pictures. But owing to the way the lenses work, owing to the way that the photograph is digitally manipulated internally within these electronic devices, you'll get a different feel compared to sitting there and actually sketching what you see in front of you. Now, as an example, if I go out on Dartmoor and I sketch a scene, I will understand the relationship between where those trees are and those houses and where that tor lies in the distance much more efficiently than if I just snap a quick photo and carry on walking. If you have to spend time sitting down and analysing a view, it makes it a much more efficient way of fixing that in your head. So I will definitely be taking them. What next? Well, I will be taking my mobile phone, because that's going to be the essential way of making sure I get to where I want to go to. And it's got all of the Ordnance Survey maps on it, so I can see the lie of the land, I can tell roughly where roads used to be and so on. That'll be useful. Almost as useful as this. I've had this for donkey's years, and it is almost completely unusable now. This edition was printed in 1970. It's the 6th edition, printed by Geoffrey Chapman Limited, and it has very little relevance to the present day. You can see here how detailed the maps are. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. It shows the height of the land, it shows where the roads are, but of course from 1970, so 53 years ago, it hasn't got most of the motorways now. There's no M25 on this. There's very little of the M3 or anything, because they weren't built. They weren't even thought of yet. They weren't even a figment of the government's imagination. But what this has got is a snapshot of all of the roads pretty much as they would have been at the time of the English Civil War. So for me, doing research around what Tissington would have been like at that sort of time, this will be really useful. And I am going to be going back in time with this story, not telling this a historical story as such. It is a modern day crime story, but I think some elements are going to be based on things that happened during the Civil War. There, that's a bit of a giveaway, isn't it? So what else am I going to take? Well, usually something like this, I would take my A4 notebook, which came from, what was it called? Paper4fountainpens.com. Sadly, the company's gone bust. This is the last one of their notebooks I'll be able to use. It has superbly thin 52 GSM Tomo River. As you can see, I've largely filled it. I'm not going to take that because it's just that little bit larger and it doesn't quite fit in the little backpack that I want to take with me. So instead, I'm going to take my Odyssey notebook, which still has Tomo River paper, but this is 68 GSM. It's a little bit fatter, and I think it's going to be a little bit more satisfying writing on this while sitting outside a cafe or sitting in a field staring at a view than it will be using the fine Tomo River. Of course, I don't need that all the time. I will also need to carry smaller notebooks, and I was thinking, well, I'd take my William Hanna because this does tend to go with me pretty much everywhere, and it is lovely. But actually, what I need is something where I can take records and I can't move the page order and things around. So I thought, no, instead, I'll take my Conway Stewart, which is brilliant because it's lined paper. I can't just doodle and be silly with this. It's going to be taking sensible notes that I will be using to refer back to as I write the book when I've finished my research and I come back. It's also slightly smaller, slightly lighter, so it will fit in the backpack a little bit more easily than the William Hanna. Now, of course, with these wonderful things, I'm going to have to take something to write and sketch. So the first thing I'm going to take is my sketching device. This is a Bastion pencil. And why is this really handy? It's because it contains 2 or 3 leads. All you do to advance the lead is you pull down on this, what they call a bolt action mechanism. So you just do that, and that has advanced the lead already. You can see as I do it again, if I can manipulate this, 3, 4, you can see the lead coming out there. And then when you want to put it in your pocket, you press down one last time and just push the lead in. Simple, very elegant. It has a really strong clip, so when this is attached to my shirt pocket, it won't go anywhere. I won't lose it. That's the first thing. That'll be really useful for sketching out ideas, moving ideas around on page, all that sort of thing. Second pen I'll take, or the first pen I'll take, is my Pineda. I love this Avatar Traveller because it holds a huge amount of ink in that wonderful reservoir. It's quick and easy to fill, it's a joy to write with, it has a simple magnetic cap, which means it comes on and off in an oddly addictive manner. I just love that pen. It is wonderful to use. The clip works really well, so I'm not likely to lose it. So that's definitely coming with me. But I'm also, last week I got back into playing with this, my original Visconti Homo sapiens Bronze Age, which is a lovely pen. I just adore it. The material is made of lava from Mount Etna, which has been mixed with rubber or something. I don't know what, because it's a secret, but it's just got a little bayonet fitting, so it's just a quick turn, and then you've got this fabulous palladium nib, which is buttery smooth. It's a medium. It writes just magnificently, and it's a beautiful pen to hold in your hand because this material just will not slip when you're gripping it. Plus, it has a moderately good sized reservoir, and when you're out and about, if you bash this material with a lump of metal, the lump of metal will come off worse. This stuff is just about completely indestructible. It's a magnificent pen and absolutely ideal for carrying around. But the reservoir is nothing like as big as this, or the reservoir on the Skylight or the Crystal Dream. So I will need to take some ink. So I'm going to take some ink in my Pineda travelling inkwell, because it's really convenient just filling this and carrying your ink with you. What sort of ink though? Well, I'm in two minds. This is going to be one, Earl Grey. It's a glorious grey that comes with a sort of slightly reddish warm tinge. So it looks lovely on paper. I really am very, very fond of this. But I'm also very keen on Autumn Forest from Dominant Industry, which is an absolutely delightful shimmering ink. You can see the particles have all settled out down there. But it's a wonderful ink to use, really is. And it makes anybody's writing look good. Why do I want at least two inks? Well as sketching things to fix things in my brain, it makes it a lot easier when I'm out and about. If different locations, I use a different pen. I use different colours depending on what I'm doing and where I am and what I'm thinking about. And that way, as I'm writing it down, it's providing me with a sort of mental fix on what I was doing, where I was, what I was thinking. All because of just having a different colour of ink. And that, I think, is pretty much it. Now, I have to say, this set of recordings, and it's been quite a set of recordings this morning, have been more than a little bit inefficient, strange, and full of glitches. So I think I'm going to throw a few of them at the very end of this video for you. And of course there's also going to be a small segment of dogs behaving stupidly, because that's one of the things that I like to put at the end of a video. So I think I'll have some bloopers first and then followed by the dogs. Do it that way round. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to help support the channel, if you hit the like button and the subscribe button and then hit the bell and share it and tell your friends, then that will all help. And if you really want to help, then there's a very low-cost Patreon project. There's a link down the bottom, so you can subscribe to that if you wish. And it gives you a certain amount of additional information about what's going on in the background and how I do things here. And, of course, you could also buy me a coffee, because there is a link for that. And if you're truly desperate, there's also super thanks. So there's lots of ways that you can help support the channel if you are so inclined. But in the meantime, for now, whether you want to do that or not, like it, share it, subscribe, and thanks ever so much for watching all the way through to this end, because it's quite a long video. I'm off now. Next week I will try to record something while I'm away. It might be to do with how I do research or what's happening to me at the time. I don't know. But I'll try to do something and get that uploaded, probably using this wonderful iPad device and a mobile phone to get things sent up. And apart from that, I'll be back shortly. I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot for watching, and goodbye. Hello and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with me, Michael Jex, the tea drinking author, who's currently got a cup of very delightful Twinings. What is it? It's lemon and ginger. Very nice. You'll notice, since I moved... When away doing research, you need to know where you're going. The old one, which is... Sorry about the microphone.
It's not always just price that people are looking at.